Okay, so let's do part 2 of the Lopez family pedigree. All right. So far, you should have Mrs. Lopez, homozygous recessive, Mr. Lopez, heterozygous. You should have the oldest Lopez girl, homozygous recessive. The next youngest, which is another daughter, should have her as heterozygous with a slash through it. You should have the oldest son as homozygous recessive, okay? And you should have the youngest son heterozygous with a slash through it, okay? That's what you should have so far. Now, we have 2 problems, one really easy. This child, her spouse, and their son are all the same genotype, so they're covered. We already know what they are. Okay, we know what this Lopez child is because she is one of the 4 children, and we've already done their genotypes. So everybody over here, including the first son, everybody over here is covered. We know them. Now, we don't know the wife of this son. We don't know her because she's not connected to this family, right? She is married into the family. So there's not a whole lot we can go on here. But if we look at their children, okay, the children are either homozygous dominant or heterozygous. We know that because they're not shaded in. Okay, so how are we going to figure this out if we only know one of the parents? Well, just the exact same way that we did with Mr. and Mrs. Lopez. We know the son in this case, because the son is shaded in. Okay, so in this case, the Lopez son, who is the father in this cross, we know he's homozygous recessive. We know him. Now, we know that these are the grandchildren here. These kids don't have blue eyes because they're not shaded. So, what are we going to cross over here with this that will give us 100% no homozygous recessives? Okay? No boxes in here will be homozygous recessive because both of these kids, chances are, they're going to come out a certain way, and we only have this to go on. We haven't given any of these people blood tests, so we have no idea to know for sure. But if both kids come out the same way, and they both come out not this way, we got to cross this with something else over here that's not going to give us any of these. And I think you probably already can see where we're going here. Chances are, the Lopez son, of course, is homozygous recessive. But chances are that his wife is homozygous dominant. Chances are. Because if she was if she was heterozygous, and this was a lowercase b, over here we'd have homozygous recessive b's. Okay, now is that possible? Yeah, 75% chance that you come out with brown eyes. It's possible. But with both children, none of them coming out with blue eyes, we've got to go with what cross will give us no blue-eyed combinations. And it's homozygous recessive and homozygous dominant. So draw yourself that cross right here, okay, the cross that I just showed you. Draw this right here and fill that in, which I'm going to do right now. Because if you do that, you'll find that these 2 Lopez grandsons, 100% chance they're going to be heterozygous, which makes sense because their boxes are not shaded in. They have brown eyes. So we've discovered that chances are, best chances, this Lopez son's wife is homozygous dominant. So write homozygous dominant letters here. You do nothing for that shape. It's not shaded. These 2 get heterozygous. Okay? Heterozygous here, so we slash those shapes. Finally, let me move me for a second. There we go. Now we're over here. Okay, this one's a little tough. A little tough because we don't know for sure what he is. We don't know at all what she is. And we don't know for sure what they are because there's no shading here. All right. Well, That's the key. There's no shading. So we're going to have a cross here that will not have this at all. Okay? There are no whatsoever homozygous recessives. And now I just realize I made a mistake because I don't have the letters written here on the screen. We do know what he is, so that is a help. We do know what he is because those letters are written on your paper, but they're not written on my computer, so I forgot that they weren't there. So what are you going to do to see what these kids are? You're going to run one more cross. If you feel like you have some space, maybe do this cross right here to determine what these kids are. Run that cross right over here, or if you feel like you've got some space down here, run a cross between these two parents to see what these kids are. You can put that here. So we know what dad is. Dad is heterozygous. Okay? Dad is heterozygous. We know that. We did this earlier in the procedure. So we have to figure out what can we cross him with that would produce no homozygous recessives. And we know there are no homozygous recessives because neither one of those shapes are shaded. So we can't get homozygous recessive here. We can't get homozygous recessive here. So there's only one way that we can get no homozygous recessives and cross with this. And the answer is that the mom in this case has to be homozygous dominant. Has to be homozygous dominant because when you cross these, you get a 50% chance that one child's going to come out homozygous dominant, and you got another 50% chance that one child's going to come out heterozygous. But there's a 0% chance of a child coming out homozygous recessive. And that's what we want to avoid because these children down here are not homozygous recessive. So, chances are one of these two kids is homozygous dominant, the other is heterozygous. We don't know which, so it's up to you. You get to pick. So, label one of these as homozygous dominant, do nothing to the shape, label another one of these heterozygous, and put a slash through it. Okay, so if you followed along part 1 and part 2 of these videos, you have the entire pedigree now of the Lopez family filled in. You have shading and slashes where they need to be. You have everybody's genotype written out, okay, on these shapes. All right. Add a cross line to any of the individuals that are heterozygous. We did that. A cross line is a slash through the shape, okay? So I have taken you through 1 through 11. Okay, on this first page. Right here on number 12, it's asking you to read information. It gives you words like grandma is heterozygous or grandpa is homozygous dominant. And then it says, what do you think the kids are going to be? So you're going to take information and you're going to actually draw out your own pedigree from the information given to you in number 12. Okay. Now we move on to the next page. Okay. I give you homozygous dominant and heterozygous means long eyelashes. Okay? I tell you that homozygous recessive means short eyelashes. And I tell you that of course, I remind you that homozygous recessive means those are shaded in. Okay? So from here, I give you all of the shadings. You just have to write in the correct genotypes. Remember, these are grandparents, these are children, these are grandchildren. Okay? So take it and run with it. Okay, get as far as you can. This is a good preview of what we're going to jump into when we get back from spring break. Okay, so good luck, have fun, be good, and I'll see you soon.